I am here with our state senator, Ahmed Romaine, town supervisor. I'm here with our state senator, Palumbo, our assemblyman Ed Flood, our council people Jonathan Cornridge and Jane Bonner, and we're soon to be joined by Dan Panico. And we're standing in front of the Port Jeff Station DMV office. Suffolk County is the fourth largest county in the state. Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx are larger. But in terms of licensed drivers and registered vehicles, it's number one in the state. There are more licensed drivers and registered vehicles in Suffolk County than any other county in the state. And as a result, DMV has opened 5 DMV offices to serve the public. This is one of them. This office serves most of northern Brookhaven, some of Smithtown. It is now being proposed to close. And in the same week that they proposed closing it, they proposed opening a DMV office in Fisher's Island, which is a very small island far off the coast of Long Island. And I'm happy to see that for the peoples in Fisher's Island, which I used to represent and the senator represents. But you know what? Maybe a mobile van going in there 3 or 4 times a summer would be sufficient. But closing this DMV office, which is used by so many people, is not the way to go. There's a lot of things we hope for from the state. One of them is electrification of the Port Jefferson branch. We haven't heard anything on that for a while. Another is, please don't give us any tent cities like you've given Floyd Bennett Field or Creedmoor or Randall's Island. We don't need any tent cities in Suffolk County. But you know what we do need? We do need to see this DMV office open. And with that, I want to turn it over to our state senator.
Thank you, Ed. And you know, ironically, I was 7 years in the Assembly, 3 years in the Senate, and have been pushing to get a DMV at Fisher's Island. That was obviously something that's critical because those folks, in fact, to access Fisher's Island, you can't get there from New York. You need to go from Orient Point to New London and then take a ferry. And there's only 300 or 400 individuals on Fisher's Island, so that is important. But when you think about, for perspective, the town of Brookhaven alone, one of the 10 counties in Suffolk County, is geographically larger than Nassau County. And more importantly, for some perspective, it has more people there are more people in the town of Brookhaven than the city of Miami. Could you imagine ignoring the residents of Miami when it comes to licensing drivers? We have an enhanced ID that everyone is going to now need. So everyone who is currently licensed, mostly everyone, will need DMV services in the next year and a half, 2 years. So closing this DMV, unfortunately, is quite reckless. And I don't think we're really thinking about the citizens and the services that they need. And for my district, in Riverhead is the only DMV that services the East End. All 5 eastern towns are in my district, and northern Brookhaven all the way to Stony Brook University. Of course, this is in my district as well. So we have one DMV servicing that entire area. So for those folks that live in western and eastern Brookhaven, and of course in the East End towns, the 5 East End towns, we're now going to have even more congestion in the Riverhead DMV. So that is something that we sent a letter to the governor. The governor needs to reconsider closing this, because my understanding is it's not even so much of a cost issue, because the individuals who are employed here are not going to be out of work. They're going to reappropriate them or move them someplace else. So at the end of the day, it's really not a cost savings measure. And for convenience, it's something that I think is certainly inappropriate to shut this down at this point. So I know a few of our other colleagues would like to say a few words. I'm going to now introduce Assemblyman Ed Flood to make say a few. Certainly, I apologize. I'm Senator Anthony H. Palumbo.
Anybody who speaks, please identify yourself, please.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Assemblyman Ed Flood. I'm just going to really echo what the supervisor and Senator Palumbo had said, is that this facility has been used for a very long time. This is a disservice to the residents of this area. We are a dense population. If anyone was to go down to the Medford DMV right now, there's never any parking. It's doors, lines are out the door, and this is just going to, double their intake. It's not in any way good government to close buildings or close facilities that are necessary. Right now, we have a need to expand our DMV operations instead of contract. On the state side, we spend $230 billion on our budget for next year, and we spend it unwisely. So I think this is part of good government, is figuring out a way to spend money more conveniently and things that are going to help the taxpayers. I know we have a couple other people who'd like to speak, so I'll keep it brief.
You guys from Albany, do you guys have power to do something about this, or we're just kind of yelling at it? What can you guys actually do?
Yelling sometimes helps.
Oh, sure. Yelling certainly does. And if you want me to just make a comment, I believe this is somewhat within the purview of Commissioner Schroeder. We have discussed and sent letters to him as well. But really, the commissioner, of course, ultimately answers to the governor. So it's really in one person's hand at this point when it comes to regulatory issues like this, in my opinion. So we just really need to convey our concern to the governor and have her reconsider, because this is something that maybe on paper looks good, but from a practical standpoint, it's not.
Dan, Deputy Supervisor Dan Panico.
Sure, thank you very much. And I brought a pen because you always need a pen when you come to the DMV. This is, yet another example of local officials joining together, in a state where people pay more and get less. That is the state of New York that we've become. A couple miles from here, the same group of individuals over the last year had to advocate for funding for an MTA bridge that was falling down, over 100 years old. Yeah, and the overall theme and what I'm pointing out is that people on Long Island, specifically in Suffolk County and Brookhaven Town, are continually shortchanged by the state of New York. Now, I personally do all of my DMV transactions online, but one of the beautiful things that we have in Brookhaven Town is council districts. So I spoke to my two colleagues that jointly represent this area, Councilman Kornreich and Councilwoman Jane Bonner, and I asked them, is the DMV in Port Jefferson Station heavily utilized? And they both said, absolutely. A lot of people that we represent use that DMV and rely upon it. As Assemblyman Flood indicated, Medford, which is near Town Hall, is always packed. The parking lot is always packed. There isn't a lot of parking, and now because Starbucks is down there, it's even more packed. I want to turn it over to the two local council people who directly represent this area so they can tell you their firsthand perspective. Jonathan?
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor. So here we are again. We've got the crew back together. The
Band back together.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think that what you're seeing here is a bipartisan group of local electeds who understand exactly what the Deputy Supervisor just finished saying, that our area doesn't get its fair share. And unfortunately, we've seen sometimes state agencies being neglectful about our area, and sometimes resources go to the city or they go to other places. And this isn't a partisan issue. This is a suburban versus urban dynamic, I think. And sadly, what we're seeing here is an echo of the same dynamic that brought us together last time, as Mr. Panico pointed out. That same dynamic of us not getting our fair share. If you look at a map, these red dots here show where the DMV offices are. You can see it. You can see it makes no sense to close this one. The closure of this office is going to add, at a minimum, 40 minutes of round-trip driving for our residents who use it, because it's about 20 minutes to Medford. So all of the people that live in my district and Councilwoman Bonner's district, you're driving at least another 40 minutes now to take care of a routine process that for some reason you can't take care of online. We've all had to come down to DMV sometimes. And it's not nostalgia. It's not the fact that my daughters took their permit tests here, which they did. This is something that impacts all of our residents. And so I'm calling on our state delegation. We got the message through to the governor before. The last time the MTA tried to disregard us, we all stood together. We called on the governor and she came through for us. She got us over $15 million to fix that bridge. So We got the band back together again. We're gonna play our greatest hits tour. Give us our fair share. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, everybody. Councilwoman Jane Bonner. I represent Council District 2. You know, I'm just going to kind of dovetail on what my colleague said. Not only do we not get our fair share as in terms of this DMV being proposed to be on the cutting block, it's just another knife to the taxpayers in Brookhaven that just seem to be punished consistently by the state of New York, whether this proposal closure, school taxes, a whole host of things that the state seems to punish, specifically Long Islanders, Suffolk County, and most notably Brookhaven. Take a look around. Look at all these cars. Look at the people walking in and out of this building. When we got here earlier and we were setting up, not only residents asking what we were doing here, begging us to please do everything we can do to not have this DMV closed, but employees that didn't want to go on camera saying they want to stay working here. They don't want a long drive. Our governor has a very lofty environmental initiative, putting people in cars for longer on our roads, on our state roads that are not well maintained, emitting fossil fuels, doesn't go along with her environmental initiative. This is woefully inconvenient for all the taxpayers that she represents, regardless of political affiliation. So here we are, Republicans and Democrats, all here together, telling the governor, don't close this DMV.
Okay, if there's any quick questions, obviously there's a clear message that we're sending to the governor. Please don't shortchange us. We're still waiting for electrification. We're still hoping that you'll build the bridge from 347 over Nichols Road. We're still hoping that you'll not consider Suffolk as a site for Tent City. So we're looking at a lot of different things from our governor. This is one of them. This is very basic. Again, Suffolk has more registered cars, more licensed drivers than any other state, than any other county in this state. This DMV office should stay open.